The Galaxy S26 Ultra is finally here, and I've been using it for a handful of days now, and while this won't be a long-form spec sheet style review, I am going to give you my thoughts and help you determine if this new shiny device is worth your hard-earned money. The design difference this year is very subtle, and you might even miss it if you weren't looking close enough. Now, that's not to say it's a bad thing, but we do just have slightly more rounded corners, and the device overall is a little bit thinner, a little bit lighter, definitely refinements. The camera module has changed a little bit on the back side here, and that's about it, but we'll talk more about camera performance in a little bit. Okay, so around the front, as far as the display goes, well, we have a 6.9-inch AMOLED panel with a resolution of 1440 by 3120. And well, if that number sounds familiar to you, that's because it's exactly the same as the S25 Ultra. But don't worry, this display has a cool trick up its sleeve. This year, Samsung introduced Privacy Display, which is a hardware feature that shields your display from anyone around you, making it impossible for them to see the content on your screen. This is done at the pixel level on the display panel itself. You see, Samsung essentially controls how the light leaves each pixel, letting it aim the image towards you and limit what people at the side angles can see. And you know what? This whole thing, it's highly customizable and super cool. You can enable it on a per app basis. You can have it block out only notifications. You can geofence it or set it up with routines to trigger on specific conditions. It's very, very awesome. But Privacy Display is not without controversy. Some people say that the panel quality isn't as good even with the feature off, or that at drastic angles there's color shift, and I have seen the color shift, and when using Privacy Display, the display itself doesn't seem as bright when it's enabled in certain places, so that's something I've noticed. But to be honest, the trade-offs and those small little controversies that I've personally picked up on mean absolutely nothing to me when it comes to having the feature itself. I personally like it. All that said, I think it's a really great looking display. Privacy Display is awesome, and not many people will care about that, but I think that every phone should ship with a feature like Privacy Display. All right, so let's talk about some software and performance. And if you're interested, the Galaxy S26 Ultra packs the Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 for Galaxy and 12 gigabytes of RAM. So it's got plenty of power for the modern day smartphone. I mean, I highly doubt you're gonna see any performance issues, especially with larger vapor chamber cooling. For any of those that care about that, your sustained performance will be even better. And while I'm not a hardcore gamer or doing anything outside of performance benchmarks or real world usage, I can tell you that this is probably gonna be one of the fastest phones you can get this year. As far as other software features go, Galaxy AI has been upgraded a lot this year. There's a ton of cool new stuff going on with that, and I haven't checked out everything. Some of the photo editing capabilities are really cool. You can change photos with nothing but a prompt, and there's some really cool agentic stuff that unfortunately I'm not able to test out right this second. Like, for example, the demo I saw of Gemini being able to order you an Uber in the background on your phone using the actual Uber app. Like, it's really cool stuff, but my software version doesn't have it at this moment. It's launching in the future, so definitely stay tuned for coverage of that and all the other cool AI features that I plan to unpack here in the coming weeks. All right, so let's talk about camera performance, because on the back side, the Galaxy S26 Ultra packs a 200 megapixel main sensor. We also have a 10 megapixel 3x telephoto lens, a 50 megapixel 5x telephoto lens, and a 50 megapixel ultra wide lens. And yeah, those numbers might sound familiar to you from last year, but let's talk about the experience overall. When it comes to camera performance, to be honest, there's not a lot that has changed here. We do have much better low light performance on the main and telephoto lens due to better apertures, so both of those sensors get more light, but in day-to-day use, you're not going to notice much of a huge difference in photo quality, and that's only because it was already great last year. Oh, and around the front side, there is a 12 megapixel front-facing camera, and to be honest, I didn't have any issues or really have any reason to mention it. It works fine. There are also some features for video creators like Samsung's APV codec, which I haven't had a chance to test out yet, but there is Horizon Lock, which is a really cool feature, and it makes it almost impossible for somebody to mess up your shot. Horizon Lock is a new stabilization feature on the S26 Ultra that will allow you to, once enabled and recording, turn your phone sideways or upside down, and it will literally keep the stabilization and the horizon locked from your original starting point. It is absolutely cool to see on a Galaxy device, and it works really well. Definitely something I see myself using a lot in the future. All right, so let's talk about battery capacity, because the S26 Ultra packs 5,000 milliamp hours of it, and that may sound familiar to you because it's the same as the S25 Ultra. And I'm not going to pretend that I ran any crazy battery tests on this or anything. I've just been using it regularly every day, going through the things that I do on a daily basis. And to be honest, I haven't seen any performance worries here. I definitely would have liked to see some improvements this year in the capacity department, not because this phone needs it in my opinion, but because we have the technology. Like, there's really no excuse for capping it at 5,000 milliamp hours when everybody else is putting out phones that have a much higher capacity than that. In addition to that, we do have 60 watt wired charging and 25 watt wireless charging. So regardless of the capacity in here, you can top up quickly. All right, so I feel like I'm missing something. Like, I should have made a note of it earlier. I can't. Oh, the S Pen, right. Yeah, that exists with this phone still. Samsung didn't actually really bring it up very much, or at all maybe even during the keynote. So I'm here to tell you that it exists, but in my opinion, the S Pen's days are numbered. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we saw the S Pen become an optional accessory in the coming years. You see, I'm not an S Pen user, so I often forget that it's in the bottom of this phone. But when Samsung doesn't even mention it for the phone that houses the S Pen, I mean, is the writing on the wall? Am I missing something here? Let me know your thoughts. So with all that said, what's the deal with the S26 Ultra? And you know what? I think it's a phenomenal phone. Like, there's a lot to like about it. Yes, there are some compromises for people that don't care about things like the privacy display, or maybe you just don't need all the extra bells and whistles this year and you're plenty happy with your S25 Ultra. That's fine too. The bottom line though, the S26 Ultra, it's a great phone. Now, I'm not gonna recommend you go get it if you have an S25 Ultra. That's just silly. But there's a lot of good stuff here that anybody on an older device would absolutely love to have. And you know what? This sits in a really good place for those people.